in 2019 and worked in the Resolute Support Headquarters Office of the Staff Judge Advocate, where your portfolio responsibilities included targeting, collateral damage estimation, and civilian casualty response. You are married to Stephanie, who is a graduate of Thomas Edison State University and has master's degrees from Liberty University and the Academy of Art, University, San Francisco, California. Most importantly, you invest your time raising your 5 children, ages 13, 10, 6, 5, and 4. And I think you guys said downstairs you've been married for 18 years?
Years.
Congratulations. And it's because of the love you have for one of your children that you're here with us today. So before we move on, a couple caveats and disclaimers. Before we begin, we need to make some important clarifications. John.
Weiss, the man with whom she had been fighting over custody of her son.
They hated each other, and in turn she made me hate him. She had already told me that she wanted me to hit him over the head, playing like, Maxwell's Silver Hammer by the Beatles repeatedly in the house.
Bang, bang, Maxwell's Silver Hammer made sure that she was dead.
Jake Nolan suffered from bipolar disorder. He had these learning problems. He had personality problems.
Pamela took someone who she knew was severely mentally ill, and she morphed me into whatever she wanted me to be, and I obeyed, just like a puppet.
She used him for her own benefit. She sacrificed him.
His office door was open, and I see Michael sitting in a chair. I think this is really when I became fully psychotic.
I don't buy Jake.
Broke down halfway through and we got stuck in the middle of Sahara. Have you thought about that yet?
No, thanks for bringing it up.
It could happen.
It literally goes straight through the middle of nowhere. Like there's no towns, there's no roads, there's nothing. It's just that train going across. We're gonna go into survival mode, bro.
Hope we make it out alive, man.
Yeah. That's the mine. Wow, we have arrived at the mine. So the
compelling evidence at this point that bacteria are the cause of neurodegenerative diseases. Not my research.
Rudy. We talked about Rudy Tanzi, who's
Right.
a Harvard scientist, one of the discoverers of some of the presenilin genes, which are the genes that show that people are at risk for early Alzheimer's. He actually said they were discovering all these microbes in the brain, which we thought was sterile, and that we had this blood-brain barrier that protects us.
Right.
And you're saying, and he's saying that that barrier is not always 100%. And that stuff can leak through. Not only can you have a leaky gut, but you can have a leaky brain.
Look, bacteria, not to scare people, bacteria love the brain. Why? 25% of the body's glucose is used by the brain. They know where to eat. They're going to, Le Pen or the fancy restaurant is downtown. Like everyone else is eating downtown. They're getting, our brains.
Can bacteria live on ketones?
100%. But not, wait, that's very important. They prefer.
Always astonished me. This one Hawaiian woman was at the beach and I met her and she saw this crab flipping out sand out of the hole and she said, the sand's going to the north. There'll be a Kona storm tomorrow. And sure enough, a Kona storm shows up tomorrow. So their knowledge, they're more or less the PhDs of their place on the planet. The other relationship that I've noticed is so tight is their relationship to each other. Again, they don't have the institutions. They don't have Social Security. They don't have an IRA or 401k plan. They don't have elder care facilities. They completely depend on each other for their survival again. And that produces a real tightness. I've noticed women at a well in Africa, for instance, and they're all sitting around joking and talking. They're
opposing ideas can both be true. Someone can try and do calories in, calories out, which through science works, but the application of it can fail.
Well, I'm thinking not about the application and like the science of it. Is it regardless of whether I have a pre-existing condition?
Not regardless. Pre-existing conditions is part of the application.
Okay.
The individual is part of the application.
I think she was making the case that because of that pre-existing condition, the maths of it don't apply to her. Like it doesn't actually work on her body.
It shifts.
Versus the application. Okay.
It absolutely shifts. And that's the truth for most medicine. Like when I try and get my patients into a healthy blood pressure range, because we know that having a resting blood pressure above a certain number predisposes you to having risks of heart attack, stroke, all these cardiovascular conditions.
All right, so man, I know I'm about to deviate.
Go ahead.
My situation was not that deep, bruh. That's what everybody had been looking for.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, business got woozy with me.
Okay.
But I didn't have this like, oh my God, like, Lord, it was just like, all right, this shit's starting to go a little too far left with the business. Like I'm putting up 30 points a game, fam. I'm not asking for a limousine. I'm not asking for this. I know we a small market team, but nigga, if you need to go out and get some sponsors, you better go out and get some sponsors.
Understood.
I'm putting up 30 points a fucking game.
Right.
10 assists, 12 rebounds, 50 fucking percent from, you know what I'm saying, from the 3, 54 from the, you know what I'm saying, from the 2. Like, I'm efficient.
Constructive behavior typically elicits a dopamine release that I don't get. So doing something quote unquote kind, I don't feel that attaboy, that pride. It's more matter of fact. There was someone in the grocery store who didn't have the money to pay for their groceries. So I paid for the groceries for this person behind me. And then I left the store. I wasn't doing it because I wanted any credit or this is a problem that needs to be solved, so I'm going to solve it for this person. But I don't get that hit of, wow, what a good person I am. That was a nice thing to do. But I do get it from something destructive. I get this jolt of feeling that sort of snaps me out of my pressure. In much the same way that someone who has obsessive compulsive disorder, they can't tell you why washing their hands 8 times or doing a series of rituals makes them feel less anxiety. It just does. And that was
bonding to the proverbial Stockholm Syndrome. Now, the Stockholm Syndrome refers to this story in which a group of hostages ended up sort of falling in love with their captors. So in essence, they had created an emotional bond in the face of the trauma of being held against their will. Now, frankly, more recent research has debunked the Stockholm Syndrome as a thing, but the theme of trauma bonding is mirrored in some of what we see as sort of being the patterns or the top notes of Stockholm Syndrome. This idea of creating an emotional bond to somebody who's a perpetrator of harm in your life. Now, trauma bonding is reflected in the classical narcissistic relationship cycle.
Wellness program, which was a great book he wrote years ago, which is how I got to meet him. And recently, The Mind of God, which was featured in the New York Times, a great article about you in the New York Times. Very, very good. Congratulations. And exploring the difference in the relationship between faith and science. He's appeared on lots of TV, radio shows, including Larry King Live. That was a while ago.
Yes.
CBS News, the Food Network, Dr. Oz. And he's been the chief of neurology at Westchester Square Medical Center, the Bronx Lebanon Hospital, and clinical assistant professor at New York Presbyterian and Albert Einstein College of Medicine. And he has a practice in Tarrytown, New York, which is fantastic. So welcome, Dr. Lombard.
2 disclaimers. I'm not a psychiatrist, and I really know nothing about the brain.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I thought you said you were trained in psychiatry.
I was trained in psychiatry. Yes, I'm not a psychiatrist.
So you're not technically a psychiatrist,
correct,
but you learned enough about psychiatry. You know,
just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's often, psychiatry used to be brainless.
Right.